Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. So, a few days ago we talked about the rookies of the 23-24 season, and today we're actually going to talk about the prospects that you're going to expect in the 2024 NHL draft class. So, the guys, I have about 10 prospects here, pretty much the same amount as the other video we made yesterday with the rookies. And we're going to go through all of them. So I will leave a little bit of the disclaimer. There's no goaltenders. There weren't any goalies that made the cut. I didn't think it'd be worth to disclude some of the players on this list. Just to include a goaltender. I think this draft is very interesting. There's some notable players on here that should be mentioned for sure. Some people whose last names you may recognize. But really, one thing that I noticed with this class a lot more was that there's a lot more defensemen in this draft than it felt like there would be in usual years. It feels like a much better defensive type draft. But anyways, the leading guy that I'm going to talk about here is not a defenseman. He is a center, and it's a guy that I've talked about on the channel before. It's Macklin Celebrini, a center. And in 50 games played this past year with the Chicago Steel, he had 46 goals, 40 assists for 86 points. And really, you look at a lot of these guys. I have one, two, three, four of these 10 players that I have listed here, maybe even more than that, are from the United States Hockey League. So that goes to show that, almost half of the top 10 that's projected for this coming year is going to be originates from the United States Hockey League, and that's definitely good for the USHL. But yeah, Celebrini, I've talked about in videos before. Going to be a great center to whoever gets him. I'm wearing Philadelphia right now because they're going to be bad again this year, and it's expected. But yeah, Celebrini, the top looked at prospect in this year's draft. Next up then is Cole Yzerman, and just by the name, Yzerman, they're not connected. He's not connected with Stevie Y, but it does kind of sound like it. He's a left wing in 32 games played this past year with the United States Hockey League United States Development Program. He had 28 goals, 16 assists for 44 points. He is the projected number 2 overall. And definitely a player that, if you're looking for a really solid winger, he can be a great first-line winger in the very near future. And I look at teams like San Jose, Chicago still, Philadelphia, Anaheim, teams that aren't supposed to be that good this coming year. This draft is going to be much better for them in acquiring players. And some of these teams could get absolutely loaded with the prospects this year. Now, I will say this draft kind of feels like a lot more wide open. It isn't as deep as the 2023 draft, but it still should shape up to be a pretty good draft. Next up, then, you have Ivan Demidov, if I'm saying that right. He's a right wing / center who plays in the KHL or the MHL. And in 41 games played this past year, he had 19 goals, 43 assists for 62 points with the MHL SKA St. Petersburg. So definitely a player that I look at from a Russian type area, playing in those pro leagues out there in Russia, and say, hey, he put up 62 points in 41 games played. That's really good. And I'm not saying he'll be better than a Matvei Michkov type player, but still should be a great guy there in this year's draft. And again, I said number 4. I am ranking these off. I got these 10 players off of the Hockey News, so don't come at me if I'm forgetting someone. I do apologize if I am, but Ivan Demidov was one of the guys that I looked at. And obviously, rush is a concern there too. I plan on making prospect pool overviews for all these 10 guys and hopefully more. I was very inconsistent this past year with prospect pool previews. Or prospect previews. I don't know if I said prospect pool overviews. I got prospects all in my head. So, yeah, but regardless, Demidov, concerning there that he is from that Russian area, and you look at Michkov and just all that, it is a little bit concerning if he's going to come over or not. That's obviously the risk when drafting Russians. But regardless, he's projected to be a really high Russian forward. Next up then is Sam Dickinson, and we get into the defenders finally. Now, my last name is Dickinson, but Sam is not related to me, although I wish he was, and I'm going to be making plenty of jokes if he gets drafted by Philadelphia or any of my other favorite teams. 100%. But Dickinson, in 62 games played this past year with the London Knights, he had 9 goals, 14 assists for 23 points. He's projected to be the number 5th overall player in this year's draft. Now, I understand that that might be a little bit weird to look at. Oh, a player with only 23 points in the blue line. How the hell is he going to be a top first-round draft pick? I believe it was his freshman year in the OHL. And this coming year really could be a nice career year for him with London and could make a lot of eyes turn his way for sure. And hey, with the same last name as me, you know I'm rooting for him. Absolutely. But regardless, yeah, Sam Dickinson, the first of the defenders there. Next up, then, I would argue is the best defender in this draft. And I know it's kind of organized weirdly, but that was the way it was. Next up, then, you got Artyom Leshinov, who in 62 games played this past year in the United States Hockey League with the Green Bay Gamblers. He had 13 goals, 29 assists for 42 points, and is projected to be number 3 overall. So it's kind of weird how he's from the Green Bay Gamblers. I didn't even know that was a team name, which is kind of funny. But regardless, Levshinov, if I'm saying it right. I'm probably butchering some of these names, and I do apologize. But yeah, he's projected to be a really solid, what looks like an offensively minded defender. But as well as that, too, I read in articles, he has a good two-way form to his game. So that's probably why he's up there so high. But yeah, definitely there are teams that struggle in finding defensemen. I think of Arizona being a big example. Their blue line's gone through a lot the past couple of years. Maybe drafting a guy like Levshinov could really help them out, or even Dickinson or any of the other guys that I'm going to mention here in a second. Next up, then, you have Aron Kiviharju. He's a defenseman from the Finnish leagues, I believe. And in 22 games played this past year with TPSU 20, which for those who are unfamiliar, that is Capo Caco's junior team. He had 2 goals, 18 assists for 20 points. So it looks like a much more defensively minded defender, projected to be number 7 overall in this year's draft. But yeah, we'll see how he does. Obviously, I don't know a whole lot about these players because obviously, I didn't go in depth with these like I do in my prospect pool overviews. I didn't go and read a bunch of articles. But yeah, Harju looking like a guy with potential. Now, this guy you will recognize. At least you'll recognize his last name. You got Adam Juracek. Yes, he is the brother of David Juracek, who was drafted in 2022 by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Juracek, I'm going to be honest, he seems like he's going to be the worser of the two, but he still should be a very solid defenseman for whatever team he goes to. In 41 games played this past year with Czechia U20, he had 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points, and is projected to be number 8 overall. Now, obviously, these draft rankings may change. You may see someone rise up in the top 10 that I might not even talk about in this video. But yeah, Juracek, projected number 8 right now. His brother was projected higher. I know he went lower, but he was projected higher when the draft came along in 22. So, obviously, we're going to find out, what's going to happen there. But we'll see, honestly. I'm interested in Juracek. I like David a lot. I'm hoping Adam will be the same way. But, of course, only time will tell. Next up, then, you got Konsta Helenius. If I'm saying that right, I know I'm probably saying a lot of these names wrong. He's a center/right wing, so he can play 2 positions. A good guy to have. I talk about that many times in prospect pool reviews and other videos. In 33 games played this past year with Jokerit, he had 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points. Not bad numbers there for a young player playing in, I believe, the KHL. So, yeah, he's projected to be number 6 overall. But, yeah, Helenius, one of the more solid guys out there in the Russian leagues or in the European leagues. So, definitely a guy I want to keep a look at there if you're, a team that's going to be bad this coming year. After that, then, I have Cole Hudson. Cole Hudson, the brother of Lane Hudson, who is a defensive prospect drafted by Montreal. Hudson, 32 games played this past year with the United States Hockey League U.S. National Development Program. He had 4 goals, 21 assists for 25 points, projected to be number 10th overall, and he's obviously a defenseman. So he has experience with Cole Eiserman. They both played on the same team together, so keep that in mind. But yeah, regardless, Hudson, I'm not sure if he'll be better than Lane Hudson. I haven't even looked at it, but looking at his projections, he looks like he is going to be projected higher than him, so obviously we'll see there. But looks like to me could be a more defensive-minded guy. And then last but not least, then we have Tanner Howe, the final guy that I'm going to mainly preview. He played 67 games played this past year with the Regina Pats. He had 36 goals, 49 assists for 85 points. He's a left wing. Obviously, a factor that plays into that is Connor Bedard. So we're going to see this year, whether he's on the Pats or not, how he's going to do without that superstar player in Connor Bedard. Obviously, since he's now graduated to the NHL. We're really going to find out if Howe will live up to the potential, but he's projected to be number 13th overall. Other prospects that are in this year's draft that I didn't really go into depth with, you got Berkeley Catan, defenseman Zane Pierkin, defenseman Zeev Buum, defenseman Will Chacombe, and then center Sasha Boisvert. So obviously I'm probably butchering some of these names. I do apologize for that. But yeah, that is your 2024 draft class, just looking at the top 10. But regardless, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, that comment down below. If I'm wrong about some of these prospects, if I'm wrong about the name, or, how they've been playing, or if I missed anybody, let me know in the comments below. Because honestly, I pulled this from an article. I didn't go too in depth with it. I haven't really even looked at next year's draft outside of Celebrini and Iserman. But yeah, regardless, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.